Well, hello everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to our webinar where an online MBA can take your career. We have four great schools, all in the New England area, that offer terrific online MBA experiences. We're going to dive right in and talk a little bit about, what can you expect in terms of your career acceleration, the ability to change your career with an online MBA, how the degrees differ from one another, because there are also different bells and whistles attached to different programs. So let me introduce you to each and every one of our panelists today. From Northeastern University's D'Amore-McKim School, we have Timothy Shazar, who is Assistant Director of Graduate Career Advising. From Boston University's Questrom School of Business, Liz Wagner, who's a Senior Director there. From UMass Isenberg, we have Trista Heavy, who is Executive Director of Graduate Employer Relations and Outreach. And then from Bentley, the McCallum Graduate School of Business, we have Sean Ferguson, who is Vice President for Strategy and Innovation. I wonder if each of you might be able to describe the program, what it's like, how long it takes, how many intakes you might have, the flexibility in the program. Tim, let's start with you and D'Amore-McKim.
So John, first of all, thank you for having me. So D'Amore-McKim was founded in 1922. So we recently celebrated our 100-year anniversary.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it was a big celebration. And we really exemplified Northeastern in two important ways: entrepreneurial spirit and experiential learning. So as we progress, we're going to be talking a lot about experiential learning. So our mission is to educate responsible business leaders of the world, capable to work, navigate, and create in a technology-driven environment. So one of the things that makes D'Amore-McKim and Northeastern unique is experiential learning is front and center in everything we do. Now, the best way to think about this is with an example. So rather than thinking about it as you take classes with projects, it's actually the opposite. You undertake projects with classes built around them. And as we progress through today, I'm excited to tell you more about D'Amore-McKim. Thank you.
Yeah, and I should say, if you don't know, Northeastern is a pioneer in co-op education. So the experiential learning and the way the school looks at it, to me, is an outgrowth of taking that distinctive capability and re-engineering it for the online world. And we'll hear more about that from Tim in a moment.
Thank you,
And
John.
then at Boston University Questrom, we have Liz Wagner. And of the online MBA program at Questrom is unique as well. There are no electives in it. It's theme based.
Yep.
And integrated, and it is disruptively priced. I hope I didn't steal your thunder, Liz.
No, you summed it up perfectly. You did my job for me, John. This is great. So I'm representing the Questrom School of Business at Boston University, just down the street from Northeastern in Boston. For our online MBA, we have two intakes. So we enroll classes in January and in August. And we are one of the bigger programs out there. We're bringing in about 600 students in the fall, 400 to 500 in January. So very large program. We're think of it as sort of quality at scale. And as you noted, it's around themes that drive business. So we have no individual classes in our online MBA. It's a little bit unique there, but instead you're going to take these modules where you experience business the way you do in the real world, where you're studying themes and challenges that you face in business and how to apply those to your job. So real world applicable. We're designed for typically a more mid-career professional. We have a very experienced cohort, and I'm excited to talk more about the options at BU.
That's great. Fantastic. And then we have the Isenberg program, which has been around for a while and is typically highly ranked in online MBA rankings. Give us a clue as to what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. The Isenberg School of Management is the business school at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, and so located in the Amherst area. You could complete your online MBA, which we've been awarding since 2001 in an asynchronous format. So it's truly meant for working professionals to log in, complete at their own time, at their own pace. So we've seen students complete in, say, as little as 2 years. And then we've also seen students maximize some of their employer compensation or just take their time and take up to, say, 4 or 5 years to complete. Average would be 3.5. AACSB accredited. We also have the option for our students in the online MBA to take some in-person classes. We have a satellite location in Boston. So depending on the semester and your schedule, you could go from online MBA to a hybrid format. And so there's some nice flexibility whether you need some in-person or fully 100% remote.
That's great. And then Sean, your program is 6-week course intervals. It's asynchronous. You can do it in as little as 18 months if you're really aggressive. You've got concentrations in a number of areas. Tell us about your program.
Yeah, so we actually have two formats now. So the one that you're referring to, John, is our accelerated online MBA, where you can take asynchronous courses in 6-week course intervals. But there's also the flexibility. So you could almost say we have three formats because all of our part-time MBA classes are offered in a hybrid format. So we have students in that program who never show up to class as well. And so people in the accelerated online MBA program can take the standard 6-week asynchronous interval classes, or they can opt into some of the regular classes that are offered in a hybrid format. And this program is really set up for people. It's non-cohort based, and so we have multiple intakes, and people can kind of pay as you go. So if you get employer remission or something along those lines, and you're kind of capped at a certain amount per year and you want to go at your own pace, you can go in the accelerated online. This year, we're launching a cohort-based hybrid program that's about it's online, except for there's 2 in-person experiences that students can participate in each semester, and then the rest of the time it's 70%, 75% synchronous, 25% asynchronous. And those asynchronous blocks are after the 2 in-person weekends. And so we did a lot of market research because we made this program a cohort-based program for those who want a cohorted kind of experience. And the other thing we did with this new professional MBA program is that it's thematic, and the themes are emerging technologies and sustainability as part of the program. And so we're building those courses from the ground up, right? And a lot of times, particularly with sustainability, it's kind of bolted on an existing core class or something like that, and not fundamentally built into the design of the course and such. We also, one of the things that we put in there, and I think this is a critical point of this session, is we also have leadership development and skills-based seminars that help from a professional development and growth standpoint. So when we were designing this program, we were being intentional about thinking about promotability, employability, and such for working professionals. And so, and the accelerated online MBA can be completed, the non-cohort one can be completed from 18 to 21 months. And then the cohorted program takes about 22 months and everyone graduates at the same time. And so, in the cohorted one, it's a little bit more expensive, but we also include a global immersion and coaching and such in the program as well. So
lots of options there. Tell us, what do you think the primary advantage of a cohort program is?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people, there's this axiom, John, that 50% of the MBA is networking, right? And that was kind of in the full-time program space when that was the predominant mode. But what we're seeing is the reasons that someone who go to a working professional MBA or an online MBA, it's the exact same as for a traditional full-time student. They're going there for career advancement and that kind of thing. And a big portion of that career advancement is the relationships that you build in the program, having, physical access to the faculty. And so we were trying to find that, place where there's enough for people to get something from their peers in an in-person format, and also from their faculty with in-person availability. And so, it's really the networking, the relationship building, and these 2 in-persons that we'll have are not going to be just classes that are delivered in person. They're experiential in nature. I think in our program too, one of the things we flipped is that and historically curriculums have been 50% core, 50% electives. And when I got my MBA, it was even lower. It was like 60% or 2/3 core, 1/3 MBA electives. And we've kind of flipped that in the program. So we have these 6 focus areas in sustainability, global management, innovation design, and data analytics and such. And so people can pick 4 out of those focus areas. And so now we have it where only 1/3 of the curriculum is core, and then 2/3 is the opportunity to specialize, right? And with that, I'm getting back, I'm taking the scenic route to the answer to your question. We do these in-person experiential learning kind of cohort-based classes that would be hard for us to do in a non-cohorted session because everyone would be coming in and out in the way that we want to deliver in that program. And so that's the benefit between us being able to better personalize the learning because we're working with a cohort, and then also the networking, relationship building, and that kind of thing as well. So
Great. Now let's talk a little bit about the careers curriculum. Each of you has some experience in that careers field. Tim, you're right in the middle of it. At D'Amore-McKim, what do you do in terms of career development, career management for your students?
Yeah, so our career curriculum has 4 important parts to it. So one is everyone gets a dedicated career advisor. So I'm personally the career advisor for the online MBA, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my background in a second. The second thing is every student has access to a career management class. The third is we use this interface called GTS. And what it is, it gets access to a whole variety, students have access to a whole variety of tools. So things like Forage, Strength Finder, Big Interview, and many, many other things. And the fourth is there's a personally curated job board to help students who are looking for their next opportunity. Now, the one I want to focus just a little bit more on is the coaching. So every student has a personalized career coach. So like I said, for the online MBA program, that's me. And I do my best to speak with every one of the students in a one-on-one setting and tell you a little bit about my background, just to give some indication. And it sort of links this whole experiential learning thing we were talking about before so I've been at Northeastern 6 years. However, my prior 17 years was in industry. So that's common with a lot of the career advisors. So me personally, my career was split between consulting and finance. So those are the 4 main components of the career curriculum offered by D'Amore-McKim.
Right, makes sense. Liz, what does it look like at your school in terms of career development, career management?
Yeah, so Questrom, we wanted to bake this right into your experience as part of your curriculum. So our 3rd module is called Leading with Integrity. And I think that gets at the root of sort of what we're trying to do, our mission, creating value for the world. And I think that really is the way we want to focus your attention as a student at Questrom. And we get at the career management in a couple of ways. We found with our students that are more experienced, they're not necessarily looking to make a major career shift the way more traditional MBA students are. And so we've been really intentional in how we've dedicated our sort of career services around the online MBA. So our students don't actually have a one-to-one career coach with the Feld Career Center the way you would in our residential MBA program. So you would find that in our part-time MBA, our full-time MBA, but our OMBAs don't necessarily need that. And we've realized as we've built out this program that they don't need those kinds of services, but they do need support and they do need services. They just don't need that sort of one-to-one coaching. So instead we have resume and cover letter services to help our students. We've got a ton of alumni networking opportunities and peer mentoring. So we do a lot with peer-to-peer learning is really big at Questrom. We have something called BU Connects, where our students can be actively involved with the entire Boston University network, the Questrom network. We use Handshakes, so our students are able to look for new opportunities. And I think over 70% of those got new jobs or new promotions through the program attributed it to the online MBA. So we are having students get new opportunities. I think a handful would even say they've made major career shifts, even though most students aren't necessarily looking to do that. But they do have supports and services. They have a student success specialist who's there to help guide them. And one of our success specialists actually was previously a career coach. So he's been really instrumental. And then we have some third-party people that we work with. If you are really someone that's like, listen, I need that one-on-one really intense coaching and counseling, we have services available for those specific students that that need it. But more generally, I think we've taken the approach of having student services through the success team and then through our curriculums, through the work that you're doing in the networking, our affinity groups, and then our modules, particularly Mod 3.
Great. Trista, at Isenberg, what does this look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Isenberg has about 1,600 online MBA students. And so that's a wide range of students taking these classes for various reasons. And so something that we have is a process to survey our students, right, to meet them where they are, understand their needs, really assess the population profiles. Do we have career transitioners? Do we have career advancers? I think it was easy to say, I'll say pre-COVID, that there was probably more career advancers and working professionals, but now with the remote work and remote life has become part of our norm, I do believe that there's a larger percentage of career transitioners who need a completely different set of skill sets. So we take a little bit of a different approach. It all starts with data collection and analyzing who our students are, what their needs are. And then based on that information, there is a career course elective that we facilitate through the Office of Career Success. One of our business communication faculty members facilitates the course and works very closely with a career coaching team. So the class itself is an optional class and depends on if students really need those toolbox skills to accelerate or advance. And then besides that, we have a 24/7 Career Center, which is our virtual iConnect platform, which really serves as a hub for our online MBA students to access at any given point, whether it be at a stage in their class or in the late evening hours when they're working on their resumes. That's where we host all of our resources. And then besides that, we do have the same access that our on-campus students have. Our online MBA students also have access to our MBA career coaches who work with them one-on-one. There's not a minimum or maximum of coaching. It's definitely opt-in based, but that's really how we identify our students who need certain levels of support. It would be career class, resources, and one-on-one coaching.
Great. And Sean, what kind of career approach does McCallum take?
Yeah, so we just redesigned our career curriculum, and it's based on 5 pillars. Career choice is the first one, really getting to the root of what people want to do and what they're trying to accomplish in their career. And so we do self-reflection exercises, things like career leaders, strengths finders, and other leadership assessments to kind of figure out what you want to do. Then also like do kind of an expectation survey, right? So sometimes people have this perception of what they think they want to do. And then after they go through 6 months of the career process, they're like, I don't want to do anything like that, right? And so then that also, it's a good input for us because it also helps us map the expectations of the students with our employer relations pipeline. And then, you know, we want to help students, particularly for working professionals, understand what it's going to take to pivot. There's 3 dimensions to a career search. And when you're working full time, it's really hard to do a 3-dimensional career search. You can do it, but we want to be clear about the amount of effort that you're going to have to put into to make that. So after we've gotten the career choice done, then we focus on story crafting, why you for a specific role or a direction that you want to go, really get to the heart of your unique selling proposition. And the great thing is that, and why I love working professionals is they have a lot of clay to work with in order to craft that story. And from there, what we do is we take that clay and we work on your LinkedIn profile, resume, cover letter, go through these exercises with your elevator pitches to really get your story tight. Because I think a lot of times where working professionals struggle is that, full-time students dedicate a lot more time to the career search because they're not working, right? And so we want to make sure our working professionals have their game really tight so that their story comes off clean and crisp and people don't question why they're trying to move in a particular direction. When we got the story tight, then we go to the searching and networking, right? And so we have this framework called Seed 10 Harvest, right? And, at the schools that I've worked at, we haven't been the big schools with these massive career offices where 900, there's a class of 900 and we just kind of slot them in traditional placement. The Seed 10 Harvest framework is a network-based career search that's really worked for my students when, I worked at Rice or, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And it's a global kind of career skill set that is portable and you can take with you anywhere. And it teaches you how to network. We talked about how to reach out to folks on LinkedIn, how to manage the relationship, and then how to strike and harvest when the time is right for the right role that comes there. And then after that, it's like the interview prep, behavioral and technical questions, and then also, how to leverage your past experiences if you're a working professional. And then we're right there with you from a negotiation standpoint. My rule of thumb is I'll get back to anyone within 24 hours if we're going to talk about negotiating a job offer. So we make sure our students maximize what they get out of it. And this is all built around from a KPI standpoint. I've had a chance to lead multiple working professional programs. We want about 50% of the students to get promoted while they're in the program, 50% of the students to get promoted after the program. And we want to see an entering salary differential of anywhere between 25 to 40%. And so this process is really geared to helping students achieve those goals and the percentages that we're looking for.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, this is why people are in these programs, is to enhance your career, make more money, have more meaningful work. In terms of storytelling, Tim, I'm imagining that the experiential learning that's at the forefront of the D'Amore-McKim program gets a lot of storytelling there, right?
Yeah, no, it's a big part of it. And I mean, the way I would think about it is I could sort of think of it more of a sort of a two-step part. So one thing, I make a habit of doing is every single intake, I try and speak at orientation. I say, well, here's the importance of, getting to know your career advisor. So I always encourage students to come to get to know me. And the reason is it's really a two-part process. So one is helping students identify their career goals. And, as a career advisor, my job is not to lead you one direction or the other, is to help you identify the career goals that make sense for you. A lot of students already know that, some students don't. And then the second part of that is partnering with that student in order to achieve that career goal that they've identified. And a big part of that is often storytelling, being able to tell an employer why you're doing what you're doing in a way that seems very natural and it's a story that makes sense. And that's, obviously, or not obviously, I said, oftentimes, one of the biggest challenges, but once student master that, it really enables them to, get to where they're trying to go.
Right. Now, Liz, what skills do you think students gain by going through the Questrom program? How does it change a person and what a person's able to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a couple of things. One of the main focuses of the program is on teaming, communications, and leadership. And I think those are skills that you're going to come out and be really great employee. It's something that makes you really employable. And it's something that we really focus on is that teaming and sort of the capabilities to be a strong and efficient manager, a strong leader. And we really focus on solving business problems. And so thinking through that is in your role and how that affects all of the different facets of your job and all of the different areas that you might touch as a leader or manager in your team. And I think that the teaming aspect is really important. You've got peer-to-peer networking, which is really critical to the experience that you're having, but also just expanding your scope, understanding the global world we live in. We have students from 52 countries in our program. And so understanding sort of that conflict resolution and not getting to pick your team and having to figure that out is it's actually a really important skill set that most people think they have, but don't necessarily have. And I think that's really important. And then this focus on leadership, obviously through our leading with integrity, that's really important. But I think this idea of understanding sort of ethical dilemmas that you're going to face as a leader and manager and knowing how to apply that to future jobs is really important. Being an inclusive leader, being a global leader, that's all skills that you're sort of these soft skills that you're going to gain through the MBA at Questrom. And really being able to expand your scope to all the work that you're doing, I think is something that you bring back to your employer. Being able to communicate, being a strong ethical leader, and being able to work well on a team. Those are the skills that you'll take away coming from the online MBA at Questrom.
Now, Trista, you can speak to this question from personal experience because you have
Yeah.
an MBA from Isenberg.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always thought that the unique experience of Isenberg, and much like what other people have mentioned, but is that we are a global MBA, right? And so you're taking classes and you're having these experiences with people from around the globe and different ways of life and different cultural experiences. And so our goal is really what I call we call the Isenberg Advantage, and it's really infusing the education that they'll receive along with the experiences to really create sustainable change agents, inclusive leaders, and to bring people into challenging situations so they think about life differently. And that really is the purpose, I think we can all agree, of an MBA, is to really think differently about the way that we operate in our workplaces and in our environments, whether it be with our team members or on certain projects, how we look at different, ways of working. And so not only do we work with our faculty to infuse the most, relevant educational experience, but also infuse experiences so they get to learn from each other too, because we find that equally as important. For example, this month, we're hosting a peer-to-peer virtual event using a platform called Remo. And Remo allows you to virtually network in a way that these students really haven't had the chance to before, and connect across outside of their classrooms, but remain virtual, right? Because we continue to hear our students need flexibility, need accommodations, whether it be their location, their working parents, and just logging on in the evening to this event might make things a little bit easier for them. But learning from each other is such a huge part of the experience that we want to foster and continue to create. So having events that bring the virtual space together is really important for us.
Yep. Then of course, that's what work is all about, working with others and collaborating effectively. Now, Sean,
Exactly.
I wonder what employers of your grads say about your graduates and how they've changed and what skills they bring.
You're on mute.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I was
That's
on
okay.
fire and I blew it. So no, what we've heard from employers is that they're looking for this professional MBA. They were really keen when we did the market research. We interviewed and had a bunch of listening sessions with employers about this intersection of technology and sustainability. And then also, if you look at some of the other research that's out there, while technology is at the front of what people need, people are thinking about AI and IT skills and all that, it's still kind of the core skills, strategic thinking, problem solving, communication, that are still at the front of what people need in order to engender buy-in and get people on board. And when we've talked to employers, the thing that they see AI for is not to replace, but to kind of amplify students. So incorporating these kind of emergent technologies into the program, we think help complement their what students are getting from a problem solving and a strategic thinking perspective. So it's like, all right, now I can process and get through more research, or we can evaluate different business models in a much faster way and that kind of thing. And so I think that's what, we're really trying to deliver in this program. It's still a marriage between leadership skills, data and technology, and business essentials, right? And that's, I think, where the MBA is going to go. For us too, we have these professional skills workshops, right, where you can do some assessments to figure out where you're deficient. And we have because it's the first year of the program, we have an open call to faculty to kind of identify these kind of workshops that we think will be interesting to faculty. And then we go out to our corporate advisory board and kind of pressure test some of these ideas as well. And then we also have tech labs on how to use technical applications that can also help you in your job. So we're trying to kind of hit from multiple different dimensions. And then also the leadership coaching and accelerator that we have, where people can do like their kind of leadership development plan, and then use some of the, and through that leadership development plan, pick the professional skill workshops that they want to work on while they're in the program.
That's great. Sean, I'm imagining that alumni is probably involved in some of those efforts. Talk a little bit about the alumni network.
Yeah, so Bentley has a school, even though we've had this history of thinking ourselves as a small university, but we're actually a massive business school, right? Because all we do is grant business degrees. Our graduate school is 100% business degrees. And so we have alums working in all different sorts of spaces at different levels of the government. We just had an alumni reception here on campus. It was kind of not a speed networking thing, but it was kind of like a networking open house where our students had a chance to engage with people, different alums who had graduated at various different stages of their kind of career journey, and get a sense of like what your potential career path could project out to. And so for a school of our size, we've been graduating, we're about a 1,500 person school or 1,000 person school. And so you kind of cascade that over years. We have a pretty large graduate alumni base in a lot of different fields. Us being in Boston, we have particular depth in financial services, life sciences and health, and then also in the technology industry. And so for people who are looking for kind of networks and relationships in that space, I think all of us here in Boston kind of have the ability to leverage off that kind of community. And so we think that's a differentiator for us.
Yep. Trista, what about the Isenberg Alumni Network?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about awarding MBA since online MBA since 2001, and there's about 1,600 students, that's a large online MBA network. And then coupled with Isenberg's alumni network and the UMass network as a whole, we have a breadth of opportunity right at our fingertips. And I really believe alumni are the heart and soul of, we call them like our cheer champions. Right? They remember that they were an online MBA student and they want to bring others along. And so they're often, touch points for current students to reach out to through our alumni database and set up mock interviews or informational sessions and just really share knowledge of not only their industry, but their career path and where they've been. And so that truly helps our students navigate where they might go with their MBA upon completion. And so our alumni are involved in networking events and virtual spaces and doing winter workshops that's quickly coming up to really have these conversations about career pathing and career opportunity. And, we believe that mentorship is organic. And so a lot of times by hosting events and having these sessions, our students find natural synergy with an alum. And that might be based on the connection of the opportunity or industry, but it's a wealth of knowledge that they share that we truly think is priceless.
That's great. So Liz, now at Questrom, how do current students and then your graduates connect with the alumni network?
Yeah, so this is something we're actually really focusing on right now. We just have someone who just got promoted into working directly with alums in our student success team. We're a newer program. Our first class started in fall of 2020. So we're just starting to graduate classes. So we're building out our alumni resources right now. But it's been really, really neat to see. We have a very active and engaged alumni network already. We just did a big survey of them. And even just asking, I said, I need a couple admissions helpers with this or that. And I got hundreds of responses. And I was like, oh, wow. All right. These are engaged students. We do events all over the world, and it's been fun. Even our dean was saying, she was at an event in Athens, Greece, and she had more online MBA alums there than she expected than some of our other programs at Questrom. So really active and active and engaged alumni. We are doing a lot of virtual meetups and in-person meetups. We found our students love to lead sort of their own engagement off campus. And so connecting with one another, we have these great affinity groups sort of all over, and those have sort of expanded into the alums and work that they're doing. And then just the mentoring is also really important. So we have a formal alumni mentor process to ensure students are making those really great, important networking connections and building on those resources. And then just utilizing BU as a whole. Obviously, we're a large university. We have over 30, I think over 335,000 BU alums, over 50,000 Questrom alums. So there's a lot of people you can connect with. And so really taking advantage of that, and BU Connects as well. I think both our current students and our alums are taking advantage of those resources. But to me, it's, you're part of that community the second you sort of enroll and matriculate. And so we've really built a strong, robust student life that's now led into our alumni network, and how that the students are engaging as alumni as well.
And Tim, give us a sense of the D'Amore-McKim network.
Yeah, thank you. So the alumni network is really one of the most wonderful things about both D'Amore-McKim and Northeastern. As for how to engage with them, there are lots of different ways. There are networking events that are both virtual and in person. We have a mentorship program. We have recreation events. There's ongoing professional development. And one thing we find that's specifically helpful is we have an invite-only alumni, D'Amore-McKim alumni group that we have students, we encourage them to participate in it. And it's, if you're, for example, not in Boston, you're, somewhere else, it's really a great way to meet folks that are in your local area.
Mm-hmm. Right. One of the things about online MBA programs that I think a lot of people wonder about is how closely bonded could you be with your students, your classmates, and your faculty? Tim, are you surprised at the level of bonding that occurs in an online MBA program?
Yeah, it's amazing. And, you typically think online MBA, you think online, and obviously a lot of the bonding happens that way. But it was just a few months ago, and this is something we're doing more and more every year, but it's been a far bigger hit than we ever would have anticipated, is hosting in-person events for our online MBA students. And the participation of those events is absolutely amazing. And probably what's equally amazing, in addition to the participation, is seeing the first time folks meet in person, even though they've been working together for potentially months. So yeah, it definitely has surprised me, and it's been makes you feel great.
Yeah. Tim, you mentioned before that you think one of the most distinctive features of the program is experiential learning. How much of it and how many different forms does it take in your program?
Oh, how many? That's a tough one. It's front and center in everything we do. So whether it be, for example, I think I used this example before, but let me expand upon it a little bit. Typically you think of, okay, you have a class and there's a project associated with it. And I get it, that makes sense. But we tend to think of it actually reverse. We have a project where there's a class interwoven within it. So that's one example, but it's also driven by the experience of, the faculty and staff at D'Amore-McKim. So many of the faculty have a lot of industry experience, and they bring in those, not only the industry experience into the classroom, but the partnerships they've already built, that's brought into the classroom. Like I mentioned, folks in the Career Center, pretty much everyone who does coaching in the Career Center, they've been coaches for a while, but they've spent decades in the corporate world. So whether it be the coaching they receive, the classroom, or the projects, experiential learning is everywhere. And I think that's part of the reason, when we talk to employers, that one of the things they're most attracted to when they hire a Northeastern grad or a D'Amore-McKim grad is not that they're just smart and hardworking. Sure, that's important, but that they're ready to work, that they know how to incorporate, what they've learned in the classroom in the real world setting.
Right. Liz, I would imagine that the most distinctive feature of the Questrom program is the idea that all the learning evolves around the module and integration. So you're not studying accounting as a separate discipline, finance, strategy. You're getting pieces of this all within the context of emerging themes. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think that is something that we've been really intentional about, is building out the curriculum around these themes and these problems that sort of drive business, and wanting to ensure that our learners are tackling these challenges from a variety of different lenses, and having that real world application is going to be really, really important. So Of course, we have cases, but a lot of the times you're drawing on your own work experience and you're bringing challenges that you're facing into the classroom. And what I love about online learning is that in all our programs, our students are able to take what they're learning and literally the next day apply it at work. And we've seen that time and time over in our program that employers are thrilled because we even in our mod 2, you build a data dashboard around a problem at your work. And we've seen a number of different employers say, can we actually use that? Can we have that? That's really excellent. And so I think it all gets back to this integrated learning and understanding how everything is related and looking at business differently and using the modules where sort of they're all interconnected challenges to understand business. You're going to get those same core business skills that you'd find in any MBA program. You're just doing it a really different way. You're studying business in a really different way than you might find in many different programs out there. And we found particularly for sort of our global adult learner that really works. And employers are really, the feedback has been extraordinary and our students are really able to apply what they're learning, like I said, next day. And that then leads to better opportunities, better promotions, and all the reasons why you go to school in the first place.
Give us a sense for what the modules cover, like what's mod 2 called?
Mod 2 called, oh, I knew you always ask me and I always forget. It's something
Sorry.
like driving with data. It's all data. It's very quant heavy. So our mod 2 is, I think it's data with decisions, and it is going to focus on microeconomics, statistics, finance. You'll get a little accounting in there, but you're going to really think about how you use data as a decision maker, as a leader. And then, so you're going to get all the quantitative aspects you'd expect in a quant heavy module, but then you're also going to use data to sort of make different evaluations as a manager. You're going to do sort of pricing, supply and demand, things like that. So you're going to get those hard quant skills, but you're going to think about it in different ways. So you'll do a capstone that's focused on building this data dashboard, but then you're also going to apply it to a specific challenge that we give you around a shared problem, and you and your team are going to work on that. So you're going to have multiple sort of projects that you're working on throughout this semester.
Yeah, that's a good example, a very good example. Trista, what do you think makes the Isenberg online MBA experience distinctive, differentiated?
Yeah, I would say what makes it unique is the faculty, right? The faculty are bringing the curriculum and designing an experience, and even though it's asynchronous, they're encouraging that cohort bonding. They're encouraging you to meet your peers from each class experience. So whether you're taking accounting, yes, you might be logging at 9 o'clock at night when your children are sleeping and you're completing your work, but you might have questions for a peer, a connection, an opportunity. And so building out ways to develop kind of that water cooler talk in an experience in a Canvas shell, or whether that be an opportunity for a peer-to-peer, networking, is really important to our faculty. And so I know that I left with some really strong network relationships at the end of my program. And so it's really encouraged of that connectivity. And then something that we do when students finish their degree is we have a culminating reception. And so if it allows, we do encourage our students to come to campus, we celebrate with them, they can meet the faculty they've been online with, they can meet peers and staff and coaches, and really touch the ground in the space that they've been working really hard to achieve that degree from. And that's a unique experience to see people flying in globally from different parts of the world and saying, like, we took this class together and we had these experiences, or we were in this team capacity, and really kind of having those in-person conversations that they've been having online over the time of their degree program. So that's really fun for me to experience, and I know it's equally as fun for our students.
Super. Now, Sean, because you have several of these programs, I imagine that for the cohort one, the distinctive capability is the fact that everyone is going through the program at the exact same time. And then for the other accelerated program, it may be something else. Can you give us a little insight on and how you see your programs being differentiated in the marketplace?
Yeah, I think the link to our strategic plan is what really makes our programs pretty interesting. And the thematic elements of our plan really focus on emerging technology and sustainability. And so and having those themes woven into every course. So when you're in accounting, you're going to be thinking about issues related to technology, emerging technology, and sustainability, whether it's reporting or what kind of technological tools, how does artificial intelligence enable for greater reporting of accounting data and information, or if you're looking at something from a marketing perspective, right? How does artificial intelligence help you, accelerate the product design process, right? And so I think that's, what really distinguishes us. And then also, the scale of our faculty gives us the ability to have a range of perspective. And in those specialized courses, I talked about 1/3 core, 2/3, elective specialization courses. Those are super kind of themes. So we have financial analytics where the one faculty member will not be teaching a whole area. It's going to be a collection of faculty members with a range of different perspectives. We wanted to be intentional about making space for people from industry to come in, also to have project-based learning and such. And so I think that's what's going to differentiate us on that professional specialization side. And then just pedagogically, we really want to get to the personalization of learning, and make it more solution-oriented and more inclusive. And so our Center for Teaching and Learning Innovation is at the root of all of our courses, as well as we design and implement them. And, our approach, we call it pedagogically advanced, digitally enabled. We wanted to make sure we put pedagogy at the front of it, as opposed to the technology that's the, kind of enabler, right? And so I think those are the elements that differentiate our programs from the market.
Great. And for all of you out there, each of these schools has fantastic websites. You'll find a wealth of information and detail on every one of these programs. And I think that that's the first stop if you're looking at attending one of the programs. Just see what it's all about. Try to compare and contrast them. See what might fit best for you. And if in fact you want to reach out, you have additional questions, Tim, how can someone reach you or a member of your team?
Yeah, no, just email me directly.
Yeah.
I should have my address, but in case you don't, t.chezar, Chezar, at northeastern.edu. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, Liz, how about you?
Same thing. I'm going to say email me directly. My email is E for Elizabeth, and then my last name, Wagoner. So WAGONER at bu.edu. You can email me directly, or if that is too much to remember, you can also just email MBA at bu.edu. But I'm happy to speak directly to anyone interested in Questrom.
Great, thank you. Trista?
Yeah, absolutely. I would encourage people to sign up for some time with a recruitment specialist. And so we have a team of specialists who works with prospective students individually on their needs and their questions. And so whether that be a one-on-one appointment, a quick email, or a phone call, those options are available off of our website so that the students receive all the questions and answers that they need.
And I'm sure the same is true at McCallum for you, Sean. You have an
Yeah,
admission.
if
You're VP of Strategy and Innovation.
but hey, every student matters. So if anyone wants to talk to me, what I find is that even though if you're a VP, people assume you won't get back with them. So if you write down sferguson@bentley.edu, I will definitely get back to you.
And that's spelled conventionally FERGUSON.
Yep.
Hey, and for all of you out there, thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot about these programs and the benefits of them and how career oriented they are. So good luck to you. And the advice I have, if you're thinking about it, don't think anymore, just go and do it. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.